The most successful Bitcoin strategy would be take it to a country which has a collapsing currency, hold the positive Bitcoin, and then find a bank that will loan you money in the collapsing currency and spend the collapsing currency. In fact, if you're funding in dollars and you're saving in Bitcoin, then you get the arbitrage. And the arbitrage right now, for example, for the last 4 years, Bitcoin's appreciating 55% a year in dollars, which means that if you could borrow money in dollars at less than 55%, say you borrowed money at 5% and you bought Bitcoin, you got a 50% arbitrage, which meant that if you borrowed $1 million, you were getting a 50% yield on $1 million for 4 years. You've doubled your money every 14 months.
Well, Giga Chad is smash buying Bitcoin again. This time, MicroStrategy has purchased 12,000 Bitcoin, bringing their total holdings to over 226,000 BTC, valued at a humble $14.5 billion. How does he do it? Well, my friends, Giga Chad just revealed the cheat code to acquiring more Bitcoin. And this strategy, the genius of it, it has the potential to leapfrog MicroStrategy into the S&P 500. Not just the S&P 500, the top 10 of the S&P 500. It gets even more bullish too. Stay until the finish because all these massively bullish developments have converged. How does MicroStrategy get into the S&P 500 top 10 in only 18 months? Well, you better buckle up, my friends, because MicroStrategy's ascension comes with a Bitcoin God candle to $4 million.
Party, that party. Come and have a good time with G.O.D.
Hey, welcome back to the most bullish Bitcoin news show on the planet. I'm your chief propagandist, Rustin. Let's go ahead and get it started with the people that are not gonna make it, as an insane amount of Bitcoin shorters are hoping it won't go to 70K. Yesterday, over $16 billion worth of Bitcoin short volume spiked, and we can take a look at that and see that is a massive group of people that enjoy poverty. All this stuff happening right now, everything is just setting up things beautifully. We know MicroStrategy, again, they bought more Bitcoin, now holding over 226,000 BTC. Saylor continues to double, triple, quadruple down, and what they have done is nothing short of incredible, and everyone is taking notice. Look at all these ETFs gobbling up Bitcoin, and all these companies that have now started adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet. Get ready, because this will become the new normal. Saylor's speculative attack against the dollar, well, it's picking up steam. And the real question you gotta ask, what did Saylor discover? How did he pull it off? Could you implement the same strategy yourself? Here's Giga Chad.
If something is designated legal tender, you're going to trade it high frequency. And if something is designated as property, you want to trade it low frequency. And that's why the rich people in the world, they would buy $1 billion worth of property. They will hold it for 30 years, and then they will borrow against it. I take $1 billion, I take a $200 million loan, then I will buy and sell things with the $200 million in cash. And then the catch is, if I have $1 billion, I don't want to hold $500 million in dollars and $500 million in property, because the property is a capital asset which is not defective, right? Let's stack my capital assets, right? The worst capital asset is a weak currency. The second worst is a strong currency, the dollar. The next best is a diversified portfolio. The next worst is probably the S&P index. The best conventional capital asset is probably a building on Park Avenue or in Paris. And then the best is Bitcoin, right? So we're stacking up our capital assets. Rich would want to hold a mixture of those capital assets, and then you don't want to hold 500 million of cash. In fact, you don't even want to hold 1%. If you're really wealthy, you don't hold 1% in the currency or legal tender and 99% in the capital. You really want to hold minus 40%. You want negative working capital, right? So I have $1 billion. I borrow 400 million against the billion. I have negative $400 million of currency. Since the currency is losing 10% of its value a year, I'm making $40 million a year to be negative 400 million, right? So what you'll see is the Bob Crafts of the world borrow money against the Patriots. All these wealthy families will borrow money against their property. And the way that the world works is, if you're smart, you designate certain assets as capital assets and other assets as currencies. And then you have negative working capital in the currency and positive working capital in the capital asset. And that's how you navigate an inflationary environment.
Saylor is not alone either. There are are major players, and the big ones and the whales, they are on the move, and this hints that maybe a slingshot to 100K could be closer than we think. You think the bullish news stops there? Better think again. The Winklevoss twins, they donated $1 million in Bitcoin each to Donald Trump's campaign, and if you saw our episode last week, it looks like Donald Trump wants the US to rule the Bitcoin mining industry. Did we just enter the for real hash wars? Hey, let us know what you think below. But it looks like we're definitely accelerating. And guys, despite this dip for ants, we have evidence you might want to seize the moment. Because 18 months from today, we could be looking at Bitcoin prices we can't even fathom right now. And with that being the case, you're going to want to get your Bitcoin off of exchanges. It is vital. Here is a special message from V and our sponsors at the Bitcoin Way. Willingly choosing to work for and save in worthless paper money created and printed freely by thieves and constantly devalued through debasement and taxes? Well, that's a clear sign of mental illness. Opt out with Bitcoin and self-custody. If you're looking to become a master of self-custody, well, you're going to want to check out the Bitcoin Way. Bringing over 25 years of experience in cybersecurity, the Bitcoin Way is your IT team in the Bitcoin world. They'll help take you from that why Bitcoin to the how Bitcoin. From setting up your first wallet node all the way up to inheritance planning, accepting Bitcoin payments for your business. They cover all aspects of Bitcoin security and privacy. They even work with their clients to configure routers, devices, and networks for everything in Bitcoin sovereignty and privacy related. They are your go-to source. Really, guys, just look at this. The dollar it's like a disease that has been slowly devouring you, devouring us to fund all of its forever wars and make the parasitic class wealthy at the expense of the populace. Just putting it in perspective, 50% of all dollars have been printed since 2020. Real estate, stocks, gold, well, they're all flawed. You want to get on the actual lifeboat. Bitcoin is the life raft. You take a look at this. This is the alternative. We got consumer loans surging, a debt-based, consumer-based system indicating, rising debt, financial stress. This is the DEBT cycle. We're in it. And Bitcoin was built to dominate this moment. Guys, I'm going to play this clip, but here's the secret. The banks are broke. You got to take advantage of it before everyone else figures it out and it all gets sloppy.
It is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal and it's been going on for too long. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer.
Some of those laughing now may end up crying later, because when Bitcoin goes gamma, it will rip your face off. All right, now this is where things get real crazy. I want you guys to take a look at this, and then I'm going to bring up that chart here. But this is how wild things could get. And as you can see, that line at $4 million per Bitcoin, approximately 18 months away. What does that do to MicroStrategy's market cap? Well, that would put it around $4 trillion. This will make it one of the most valuable companies in the world, top 10, top 5, maybe the top. Absolutely crazy. But as they keep stacking, they're currently 820th, and that is technically only a 60x gain for Bitcoin, and it's up 88 million x since 2009. You think that's crazy? Well, in the grand scheme of things, we're not even at 1% adoption yet, so maybe it might be time to start thinking a little bigger. Hey, check out this clip, because at the end of the day, Uncle Larry's gonna be sending Bitcoin to $1 million, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. You better buy the dips like they're your last, because the Omega candle, she's a-coming.
We talk about Bitcoin being digital money, but money decomposes in the modern world into high frequency and low frequency money. One form of money is medium of exchange, and the peso and the dollar and the euro are mediums of exchange. But another form of money is store of value. So the portion of money that you intend to hold for more than a few months or a few years would be the store of value, and that's capital. You have capital and you have currency. If you go to Argentina and you need to buy an ice cream, then you need to be holding the local fiat currency, which is that high frequency money, and you're probably going to hold it for a short period of time because it's melting, and you're going to trade it for the ice cream cone, which is also melting, and then you're going to consume the ice cream very fast lest it melt. The half-life of the money, the peso is short, the half-life of the ice cream cone is even shorter. You're thinking about money and you're thinking, oh, I'm in Argentina, I need the short half-life money to buy the ice cream cone. If I'm going to hold the money for 3 months in Argentina, I probably want to trade the peso for the tether or for the dollar, which is a medium half-life money. That's got a half-life of maybe 10 years under the best case, maybe 7 years. If you think 7 to 10 years out, if that's your time horizon, then probably the dollar looks like really good money to you, right? That's why Tether's popular. And if you're really smart, or you're thinking institutionally for the corporation, the company, or your children, then you trade to the long half-life money, right? Which is Bitcoin, which properly understood has a half-life of infinity. It's immortal money versus money that lasts for 10 years.
When Godzilla comes stomping down the street, don't get caught with your pants down. Stay tuned, folks. This ain't your grandma's economic forecast. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more updates and the best in Bitcoin. Share the Sound Money gospel. Give us a pamp. And did you miss the massively bullish news from Argentina and Saudi Arabia? Well, you better get on that. And have you been missing the #1 live Bitcoin-only news show on YouTube? Get it together. And remember, drunk, fat, stupid, and poor ain't no way to go through life. Catch y'all next week. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, f*** you.